Hey everybody, welcome to your restorative class today. Today's practice will stay really low to the ground, so we're not going to come up. It's going to be some invitations to move into some yin-style shapes. A lot of stretch, perhaps today to the back of the hip region, the buttock region, with some pigeon-like forms, although we won't go into your classical pigeon. We'll do some sneaky ways to get in there on our back and on our side. For today's practice, you might want a strap. I'll show you a neat variation with a strap. If you do have a strap, you can make a little loop out of your strap like this. Might be supportive for some of the forms. You can improvise with this or leave it out. And then also, you might want a blanket to support you. And I'm gonna start with 2 blocks as well, so you can improvise with this with a couple of rolled up blankets. And we'll get right into that shape to start. So our first shape is gonna be a Tarasana shape, where you might sit up on a blanket and then aim your feet forwards. And I'm gonna take these 2 blocks and put them right at the outer hip area. So that's gonna make this a little softer. You could take them out and take a bigger forward fold with your knees flopping down. But having a little support might feel nice here. And then we'll lean in. So there's a couple ways of doing this. You can come right down and stay, or you might introduce your nervous system to this shape by titrating it, by doing these little bite-sized pieces of shifting forwards and back up. You might add in some improvised movement to this. Sometimes I like to come into a twist, like even lean back into a twist and then switch sides with that. And then maybe you feel like leaning in and forwards, and we'll take a few moments here. You could let your head go. If you're quite flexible in your hips, you might even widen your feet like that, or even turn the soles of your feet forwards and aim your head for the floor in between your feet. You might put your elbows there on your inner knees, kind of press out if you like. And you can always go back to that rocking of forwards and back. So I wanted to start this class with something that I like to come back to. It's an invitation to think about what's a compliment that you would love someone to give you right now. Maybe it's something that you're trying really hard to improve, or maybe it's something that's you feel is unnoticed, or maybe it's a compliment that you get regularly. If you can think about that, whatever it is, sometimes it's nice to stick with the first thing that comes to mind, not overthink it. And then I'm going to invite you to turn that compliment in on yourself. So give that compliment to yourself. Maybe say it internally. And I'm going to count up to 5 here, and you can stay with your breath or stay with the sensation of the shape. And the counting is just for predictability, for how long you know that there's the invitation to be in the shape. Please keep in mind you can come out of the shape at any time, before I say, before I do. This is your practice. So you could stay here for 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. You might roll right up and out of that here. Take your hands to your outer knees, draw your knees in, and shift your hips a little forwards here. And as you shift forwards, you can move your props out of the way. Choose if you want to lean back into your hands here. Do you want your fingertips to point towards your hips? Maybe they turn out to the sides. Maybe they turn behind you. You can check that out. And then I'll invite you to loop your collarbones, the upper chest region, up Take your shoulder blades a little down your back and work your hands towards straight. You might look up here. You might tuck your chin to chest. You could do some small neck movements side to side, being tender with this region because for many of us it's super tight. And then if you want, you can pick up your hips and inch them towards your heels. You might even move your feet a little further forwards and check that movement out. Pick up your hips and move them towards your heels. Then again, reestablish that lift of your collarbones, the lift of your chest. You might move your arms a little more towards straight here. For a breath in, breath out. Then we'll pick up our hips and move them closer to our hands. Walk down onto your elbows here. Walk your elbows back until you feel a just right stretch across the front of your chest, and you can cross your ankles, hug your knees in, and roll out through the back of your pelvis. It's like a massage for the back of your pelvis. Maybe you feel a little tender in there. You can linger on one side in a little floating twist and change directions. Maybe there's a figure eight. You can also couple this with that lift and spread of your collarbones. And then as you're ready, we'll press into our elbows, come on up onto our hands. We'll roll over our shins here and onto our abdomen. So you can walk your legs out, walk your elbows forwards, and maybe you pick up one leg and you stretch your leg back, like you want to make your leg one size longer, and do that to the other side. And then walk your elbows closer underneath your shoulders to that just right place for you. And you can let your head hang here. Let your shoulders slump up around your ears. Let your head hang. And here you might do some side to side movements with one ear towards one shoulder and the other ear towards the other shoulder, perhaps lingering in one of those places. And finding that just right sensation of stretch. You don't have to make the stretch so intense that you're enduring too much pain. And if you're feeling a lot of sensation, you don't have to shy away from that sensation. You can find that middle path. Perhaps when you find that just right spot, you linger with a longer breath in and out. And then if you like, you can take your hands to plant in front of you, and they could be a little wider than your shoulders. Press into your hands and come a little more up into like a melty cobra shape, and then drop your forehead to the floor. Let's do that again. We'll press, come a little up, exploring that forwards and up of your spine, and come on down. There might be one more in there. Reach it forwards. And drop it down. Maybe take a moment with your forehead touching earth. And then we're going to shift on over onto our left hip, propping our left forearm underneath us, and then bring our right foot in. So you might kind of aim the right foot away. You can hold on to your knee here or your outer ankle. You could make that a little tighter and aim your foot so that it's a little more perpendicular to your bottom leg, and hold on to your foot, your ankle or your knee. And check that out. You can also let this left shoulder snuggle up around your ear and explore sensation here. So you might think about, it's not about doing the shape. Maybe it's a little more about feeling into it. Feeling how your body responds, feeling your breath. And sometimes moving slowly allows you to feel a little more, so that might be useful. Sometimes feeling a little more can be overwhelming, so if that's the case, you can keep moving, keep your focus on something that doesn't feel overwhelming. Keep feeling the ground underneath you, maybe. Okay, so another option here would be to walk your forearms and kind of curl your spine around so that your forearms plant closer to your right foot. And you can explore that feeling in your right hip. Another option, you could use a block for this, is to aim your forehead towards a block. Block has a couple of heights you can explore. And in this variation where I'm side bending my spine closer to my right knee. I feel it a little more in my backside muscles on my right side. Another option could be to bring your bottom left leg a little forwards and reach for it with your right arm. You can reach for your knee, your shin, your ankle, or your foot. You might take a breath in and out there. Then we're going to come out of that and we're going to start to roll into a twist. So you might move your right foot forwards, inch yourself to the right corner of your mat, and then roll right on down onto your back. Now for some folks, you might let that right foot come off the floor, hold on to your outer knee, and take your right arm out to the side. If you like, you could hold on to your ankle, keep the foot planted, and continue to aim that top right knee away from your chest as you kind of roll onto your back. Another option here is to curl up. Lift up your bottom left leg, bend it, and find your foot or your ankle with your right hand, and then try to take that right knee more in line with your body and roll on down. So that might be an option. And take a couple breaths into that. Again, I'm going to count the timing that we're invited to stay here. Feel free to come on out and find something that your body's craving. And this is your practice. So you also might stay here with me for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so we're going to roll right onto our back here and keeping a figure 4 with our right ankle in front of our left knee. So now the back of our pelvis is plugged, back of the head comes down, and you might bob your right knee up and down a little. If there's any accumulation of stickiness in there, you might reach your right leg up into the air, rotate out through your ankle, bring the ankle back to the knee. Maybe for some folks, you hold onto your knee and you do some big hip circles, massaging into your hip. And you can stay there with your left foot on the ground, and I'm going to give you a couple more options here, where if you had your strap nearby, that could be helpful. One option is to draw your left knee right in towards your chest and hook behind your knee, your left knee, maybe hook on top of your left knee and wobble a little side to side in that figure 4. Another option to free your hands could be to take that strap loop, put it around the arch of your foot, and then take it behind your left shoulder, and then pull the long edge of the long strap behind your back and lay right onto it. So sometimes I like to make sure that the strap isn't twisted on my skin and that the buckle is not on my skin. And now I have my hands free here. And with your hands, you could find your top right shin and aim your right knee a little more away from you. And you could wobble your shin and explore there. This might also allow you to stretch your left leg out. So all equal value options. Maybe some are appropriate for some days, some are appropriate for others. And just finding that just right spot for you. And again, we'll do that counting. You might stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I want to show you one more option here if you're curious. So if you want, the left leg can plant, and you can see if you can curl up and hook your outer right ankle in your left elbow. And that might be interesting to kind of wobble into that. If you like, you can take your right arm behind your head, aim the palm up, hook the back of your skull, and see if you can grip your fingers. You might explore that for just a second, come on out of it, or maybe you start to lean your head back. This is a pretty tremendous right hip stretch, so you can invite it in or not. Might not work for all bodies. Some folks might, again, lengthen that left leg out. So wherever you are as you come out, you might be holding onto your strap. If you do, you can unhook that strap from behind you. Some of you might hold onto your outer foot with your right hand, and you can let that right leg come up and out to the side. So the inner seam of your pants, the inside of your leg, faces up towards the ceiling. Your left knee might fall out to the left, or your left leg might reach out towards straight. And sometimes we sort of topple over to the right side in this, so maybe you put a little more weight into your left side. Find that just right spot for you. Maybe you're letting yourself feel extra soft today. Maybe you're letting yourself project out into the edges of the movement. There's no right answer. This is a practice of knowing yourself, attending to yourself, in order to perhaps find more skill in relationships with others. So you might stay here again for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And as you're ready, when you're ready, you might plant your left foot if it's not already there. Draw your right leg in, unhook it, and there might be a bit of windshield wiper side-to-side movement with your knees. Again, you might feel that slight massage for the back side into your back of your hips. And we'll do a flip for that whole sequence on the other side, so you can pancake flip over, find yourself on your abdomen. Reach your legs one at a time, out and back. Reach your spine forwards out of your pelvis like you're crawling, snail crawling out of its shell. And then you might let your head drop. And again, there could be those side-to-side movements, right and left. Perhaps stretch sensations for your neck. Feel free to linger. Savor a spot for a little longer. Maybe there's those 3 melty cobras in there, so you can walk your hands so they're pointing more forwards. Come up a little, or maybe a little more, exploring that forwards and up of your spine, and roll on down. Forehead might meet the ground. Back up. And down. Back up. And down. And we're gonna take this moment to shift over to our right side. So you can prop up on your right forearm, shift over, bring your left leg in. And you could hold onto your ankle or push your knee away. Explore how far in you want that leg. If you want to plant that foot so that it's perpendicular to your bottom right leg. And you can explore that shape, bit of a right side body stretch perhaps. Maybe your right shoulder slumps up towards your ear. You can even rest your head onto that shoulder. And feeling in for whatever comes up. So if this shape isn't your favorite, you can add on to it. Take some stuff away, add on some stuff. Make it yours. Sometimes I find myself putting a video on of one of my favorite teachers, and I just kind of need that space to be held, and then I end up sort of doing my own thing, and that's totally fine. That's encouraged. You might explore walking your forearms in, so you're kind of coming tighter in towards your left leg. It's sort of like a lizard shape, coming closer in towards that left leg. You might use a block here, and that block might support your head. You might move that bottom right leg forwards and kind of reach for it with your left leg, or your left arm, your left hand. Into this myriad of sensations here. Hip stretch, maybe hamstring stretch, shoulder stretch, subtle twist. I'm going to take our time to roll onto our back. So we're starting to come into that twist. So you can shift a little more to that right edge of your mat, roll onto your back. You might take your left foot off the floor and hook the back of your knee. And you might keep that foot planted and hold on to your ankle. And kind of wiggle into it. Find the twist that works for you. Some of you might curl up, bend and lift your bottom right leg, grab a hold of your foot or ankle, and then pull your knee more in line with your torso to roll onto your back. Here I sometimes think about that left hip, top left hip, coming back towards the ground. And again, I'll give that 5 count just for that predictability of the invitation to stay a little. Sometimes it's useful to have some of that support because the sensations can be quite a lot. So if you like, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we're going to make that transition to figure 4 on our back. So swivel through the pelvis a little, let the back of your hips come onto the ground, back of your head. You might center yourself out. And you can do that bobbing movement with your knee in and out. You can stretch your leg out towards the ceiling, roll out through your ankle. And you might stay here for this whole duration of this shape with your right foot on the ground. Some of you will want to draw your right knee in and hook your hands around your back of your right leg or on top of your shin. Find a little wobble there. Maybe for some there's that option with the strap. So if you want to hook around the arch of your foot, then you kind of take that strap over your right shoulder, and I make sure there's no twists in the strap, and then pull it down right along my spine there. And so then I can free my arms and my bottom leg. And then you might be able to use your hands to encourage that left knee away from you. Encourage a little side-to-side movement. Maybe that right leg can reach towards straight. That might intensify the stretch sensation. And also maybe free up your right hip flexor a little. You might stay wherever you're at there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And if you'd like to explore that bit of a tighter variation, then you might curl up towards your foot, hook your ankle in the right elbow crease. Aim your palm down, left palm comes around, palm faces up, and your fingers might find each other. Your hips might swivel a lot to the right here. Perhaps you bring them more to center, and you might explore that for a second. You might let your right leg reach out, explore that. You can let it be messy. Move into it a little or a lot. And we'll come out. And as we come out, you might unhook your strap from behind your back and hold on. Some people might hold on to the outer foot or hold on to the strap and let that left leg fall out to the side. And your right knee might fall out to the side, or you can reach it towards straight, inner leg up. Inner seam of your left pant up, inner line of your leg up to the ceiling. And your legs don't have to be fully straight. You can be bending them. You can allow yourself to be super soft in the shapes. And you can also allow yourself to push into the edges of the shapes. Sometimes to have some intensity in the sensation, it can be louder than our thoughts if our mind is really busy. And sometimes we can nurture any exhaustion that's there by being extra soft and gentle. And there's no right answer. Every day is different. So you might stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can bring that leg in. Unhook if you've got that hook. Draw your knees in, give yourself a hug there. Circle your knees away from each other and in towards each other. And any other little movements that you want to invite in, go for that. You might let a little windshield wiper action move through your legs, knees, fall side to side, those lumbar spine rocks. You might take a couple breaths in and give a big sigh or an exhale out of your mouth. And you're also welcome to come up to seated. So for this last couple moments, find your final resting shape. To close your practice. And I wanted to close the practice with a couple of words today from one of my late teachers, Michael Stone. And this is a story he was telling in one of his Dharma talks. When I was in Los Angeles many years ago, now listening to the Dalai Lama, someone who I was there with was telling me this story, that this woman, during the week with His Holiness, like whenever she was doing the meditations during the week in the morning, she kept noticing that all she wanted was some approval, some self-approval, from others especially. She looked in other people's eyes just to get their approval. And it was the first time she'd actually seen this. So she went to the Dalai Lama to have a conversation. And she said, during the retreat, all I notice is that I want people to give me approval. I want to be seen. It's really courageous, to actually admit that. I just want to be seen. And the Dalai Lama said, how old are you? And she said, I'm over 40. And he said, once you're 40, the world approves. And now it's your job to approve others. So maybe you're staying on your back for these last few moments, last few beats of your practice. Maybe you come up to a seat. Maybe there's a gesture with your hands that you take to close your practice. Thank you for being here today. May you have peace.